This is almost like magic. When you really change your story about somebody, their behavior changes. Often much of what you may have complained about in them changes. Why? Because they never were how you had them rendered up to be. They never were your trance about them. And guess what? Neither are you. You are not how you have you rendered up to be. You are not your trance about you. Hey guys, how's it going? This is James Tripp. This is James Tripp Chaos Wave. The title of this video is You Are Pure Possibility. Now, what you're going to see here is me a little bit earlier on doing a Facebook Live. This is a kind of edit from that. I've taken out some of the interaction so it flows a little bit better. We're talking about things like the be, do, have model, how you create your engagement with the world, and the fact that underneath of your stories, the rules, the structures that hold you back, you are pure possibility. Let me hand you over to me to say a little bit more about this, and I'll see you briefly again on the other side. But the title of this video is You Are Pure Possibility. Okay, you are pure possibility. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because I've been reflecting on why I'm on Facebook. Why I am on Facebook. I had some conversations around this with people peripherally in different places on Facebook. And I was always on Facebook to connect with like-minded people. I got on Facebook, I think, in 2008. And the reason that I got on here was because people said there's this street hypnosis group that meets up in London. And I was all into doing this kind of stuff at the time. And, you know, if you want to know where they're going to be meeting up next, you have to get on this thing called Facebook. So I did. I got on Facebook, and I got on Facebook for one reason only, and that was to connect with people who were doing street hypnosis back in 2008, because there was a group called the Last Thursday group that I was in at the time. And maybe some members of the Last Thursday group might float by here on this live stream and say hi. I don't know. They have long since dispersed. But that was the reason I got on here, was to connect with like-minded people. And in a great many ways, it's the same reason I'm still on here. I never got on here to kind of hang out with friends I already had from the rest of my regular life. Hey Brian, how you doing? See, I didn't get on here for that purpose. I got on here for a very different purpose. Now, across time, people know me as a hypnotist. I know me as a hypnotist in a great many ways. But I got into hypnosis because I had an interest in human experience and human life. It's just one part of a much bigger picture for me. So for a long time I've been an explorer, a psychonaut to a certain degree, but also very pragmatically interested in what I sometimes call the nexus of mind and life. Okay? Now, you know, we go to school and we get raised in a world that's obsessed with doing. Have you ever noticed, by the way, in my view, the school system is about turning people into machines. That's what it's about, or parts in machines. So we get taught to be productive, to be very linear in what it is that we do. And we get bound up in a whole bunch of rules about what's possible for us, what's not, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, all of this kind of thing. And we kind of get hooked up in doing, and we start to believe that if we want to make anything happen in the world, we have to do certain things in certain orders, right? Here's when we want to head to. We've got to put this step in, this step in, this step in, this step in. And we've got to get down and we've got to get through all the steps. This is what we get taught. And often for a lot of people, I coach people who are creating things in the world. They want to create difference out there in the world. And they're often very much caught up in this paradigm. And doesn't it really seem true? Obviously, if you want to make something happen in the world, if you want to create something out there in the world, surely you've got to think, right, what do I want to create? What are the things that I need to do to get there? How do I get from here to there? What are the necessary conditions that need to be met? So it's a place that people go. It's an interesting thing, by the way, that a lot of people, when they look to becoming more productive, it's like they try and turn themselves into a machine. I've even said it to productive people myself. You're some machine. Okay, productivity, people try and turn themselves into a machine. But the interesting thing about it, if you look at the world of machines and artificial intelligence, what they're doing at the cutting edge of artificial intelligence is trying to turn machines into something more organic and non-linear. So you get this crazy thing, whereas the top machine technology is trying to be more organic, and us organic creative entities are taught that we have to act more like machines in order to create in the world, right? So I'm a big believer. I say I'm a big believer. I really like what I was introduced to as the be, do, have model. I wonder if Alan Witten is likely to show up here. I saw Alan Witten do a live stream this morning. I've known Alan for a great many years, and if Alan watches this back at some point, he's going to get referenced here, because Alan Witten introduced me to the be, do, have model many, many years ago. It's like a really offhand thing. I doubt Alan will remember this conversation. So the be, do, have model, right? It basically says what you have in the world, your results, you get as a result of your doing, but your doing fundamentally comes from your being. Okay, and what most people are trying to do in the world is they either start with this idea that if I have all these wonderful things, then I'll be a worthwhile person, wrong way up, or they go straight in at the level of doing when they want to create anything in the world. They go, right, here's the difference I want to make. What do I need to do to make this difference? What are all the doings that need to be done? Okay, so Darren's saying, Alan taught him the same thing, be, do, have. Okay, by the way, I don't know, Darren, if you know where be, do, have comes from. I've really looked into this. Some people say it goes back to Hinduism. Some people say it's Neil Diamond Walsh. I don't know. I tried Neil Diamond Walsh's writings, not my cup of tea, but I love the be, do, have model. I also heard a story, by the way, from William Whitecloud. I was having coffee with William Whitecloud, if people know William, a number of years ago. And he said that he met this guy who had this fantastic house and this fantastic business. And he said the guy was a magician. Now, William frames things up this way. When William says someone's a magician, he means something very specific. I said, really, how did you know? And he said, well, he pulled back his watch and showed me a tattoo on his wrist. And it said, be, do, have. So this is a thing that's out there in the world. But I think it's phenomenally powerful, and people miss the power of this. Be, do, have, really, the real power in this for me is that your doings spontaneously emerge from how you are being, okay? And if you try to do in a way that's out of alignment with your being, you are likely to experience procrastination. You're likely to experience a sense of grind through low states. You might be productive, but you are unlikely to be generative or creative. Okay, if you look at true creativity, if you look at how novelty is created in the world, it's always created through non-linearity, never through linearity. So productivity often kills novelty, surprise, generativity, creativity in a great many ways, even when it works. So I'm not saying that doing cannot work going in at that level, but it often can be a killer when it comes to generating novelty and surprising things and working with complex systems. The best way to work with your being is to work with your seeing. Okay? The best way to work with your being is to work with your seeing. How are you seeing something? How are you seeing things? This is a profoundly powerful thing. A lot of people don't think it's important. They think they see the world as it is, but they don't. They see it the way they see it. The biggest cognitive bias that people fall for is what I see is all there is, and how I see it is how it is. The biggest distortion there. What we've got going on here is when people put a story on something, when people put a story on anything, they put a way of seeing on it. They limit it in terms of possibility. Okay, they limit it in terms of possibility. We do this to other human beings. If you want to transform another human being, if you want to be a transformative agent, and I work with a lot of transformative agents. And by the way here, I want to say something about this word transformative quickly, because I'm thinking about Alan Witten. And I remember Alan complaining about everybody banding the word transformative around. A lot of people do. Transformative this, transformative that. It's just change. Change and transformation are different. Okay, change, I can change the order of the things on my coffee table over there. That's change. It's not transformation. Transformation takes place when somebody sees something differently in such a way as possibilities open up that were not there before or were shut down before. Okay? So, if people really want to transform what they're getting in life, and they don't want to have to struggle against themselves anymore by having a doing that mismatches their being, it's worth starting to become aware of, hang on, what are all the stories I'm telling about who I am and how I am? What are all the stories I'm telling about the world around me and what is or isn't so? What are all the stories I'm telling about my clients or my prospective clients? And this is a big one, by the way. I happen to coach people who are practitioners. That means consultants, it means trainers, it means coaches, it means therapists, it means difference makers, essentially. And often people get into this realm of complaint about, well, the people I engage with only want this, or they don't want that, or they want this. And they don't get that they have limited the possibility by the story they have placed on to these people. I did it myself for years, by the way. And do you know what? I probably still do. I'm not going to claim to be Mr. Enlightened and always awoken from my trances. I get had by BS trances. Of course I do. I'm a human being. Hi, Angela. Dipti is saying, love the difference you've described with the changes versus transformation. Right, it's a big thing, by the way. I'm not a fan of words that get banded around with no meaning. It's like empowerment. Everybody says empowerment, like empowerment's some kind of fuzzy feeling that makes you feel good. Actually, if we chunk into empowerment, we can find things that actually empower people, actually put them in a position to have more leverage in their world, to be able to create more of the results that they want more easily. Empowerment can be a really detailed, really specific thing. Same with transformation. It doesn't have to be a woolly term that just sounds good and evokes things. Yes, sorry, Dipti, I'm not enlightened, not today. But I do sometimes channel an enlightened entity, I think. So that might be what's confusing you. It's just something coming through. So yeah, these are kind of weird, these live streams, because it's like a conversation, and there's a thing up there as well. I'm learning to do them. I'm getting used to doing them. So yeah, we limit possibility when we see things in certain ways. Okay, so what I would like to invite people to do is be aware. You know, sometimes people say you can't change other people, right? Well, you can, just not the way you've been trying to. So often when we try to change another person, the place we go, be, do, have model, is doing. So we maybe cajole them or harangue them, or maybe we coach them with clever questions, or we dance around them with strategy and all of this kind of stuff. If you really want to transform somebody else, the first place is to transform your seeing of that person. Transform your seeing of that person. Because when we hold people in stories, we create a trance about that person for ourselves, and we will behave through that trance. Our behaviors towards that person will emerge through that trance. Okay, that's the way it goes. And most of the time, I'm talking about transforming people who are in your life, by the way. Your behavior and the way you act, your doings towards a person, which will come naturally from your story about them, your seeing of them, is what holds them in places they are. It's part of what holds them in places they are. So you find this a lot, and this is almost like magic. When you really change your story about somebody that you have a relationship with, the relationship changes, their behavior changes. Often much of what you may have complained about in them changes. Why? Because they never were how you had them rendered up to be. They never were your trance about them. Okay? They never were. And guess what? Neither are you. You are not how you have you rendered up to be. You are not your trance about you. People go way beyond the stories that people tell about them, whether it's about ourselves or about others. So I'm going to suggest an idea, which is kind of where I've been going with this. And the idea is simply that when you take your stories off people, off this glorious neuropsychological milieu that human beings are, when you take your stories off them, you take away a lot of rules and constraints, and you make space. This goes for you too. What if it turned out that when you take your stories off you, your stories of who you are and how you are, when you take them off you, when you take the rules about what must and must not be about you and what you do and how you are and all of that, when you take it away, what if what you have left is pure potentiality, pure possibility? What if that's what's left? What if when the stories that are holding things in place let go, the space for transformation truly opens up? So if you like this video, please do give it the thumbs up, show it some love that way. If you have any questions about this, you can make use of the comment section. Of course, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, if you have an interest in using your mind to shape your life, you're going to get a lot of goodness here that you will not get anywhere else. And use the comment section, because that way it drives a conversation. Make use of this as a resource. And until we next engage, remember, you are pure possibility.